BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Hello, I'm Martin Dowden, and this is the Scottish Football Podcast. All the news, views and analysis you need on Thursday, the 3rd of April. And we got drama yet again in the Championship last night.
It's just a magnificent all-round team performance. I'm so happy for everyone associated with the club. So it's a win and it's something to build on.
Neil Lennon got his first win as Dunfermline manager, and we shine a light on Tayside.
Scoring 3 goals at home should result in a victory, but listen, again, it's something we need to look at. We need to analyse the game and realise that it's a concession of goals that's killing us.
We check in at Dens, where Tony Docherty's side are really struggling for form, and how are the other two clubs in that area getting on?
We need to own this defeat and we need to learn it from this, and so no point to feel frustration or feel, especially to be angry. We need to learn from this and move on.
What's the mood at Tannadice and McDermott Park?
The Scottish Football Podcast from BBC Sport Scotland.
Plenty to talk about with both our guests today. Firstly, it's George Cran, the DC Thomson Dundee writer. George, good morning. How are you?
Morning, not too bad. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. And Rory Loy, the former Rangers and Dundee striker. Rory, how are you getting on?
Yeah, good, thanks, Martin.
Excellent. Let's crack on. Another night of action in the Championship last night. Dunfermline getting a first win under their belt under Neil Lennon. Rory, I'll come to you first. How big a result is that for them?
It's massive, and Dunfermline fans will be hoping it's a sign of things to come. You know, I've said since his appointment that I think it's, you know, got potential to have a bit of longevity to it. I think he's a good balance between experience and, you know, good, expansive, exciting football. You know, he's shown that at Hibs, at Celtic, that he's capable of putting a good squad together, a good team. So he needs to just knuckle down, get them to stay in the Championship, which, great start last night, or good step towards doing that last night. So massive, and in doing that, looks like he's handed Falkirk the title.
Yeah, George, I mean, given what happened in Neil Lennon's first game in charge there, I suppose it was important to bounce back, and what a way to do it.
Exactly. I mean, and at East End Park as well, which is a big thing in front of their own fans, against a Livy side who were on a high after winning the cup final 5-0 at the weekend, scoring some great goals in the process, and to come away with a clean sheet. Hard-fought win. It's absolutely massive. And you add in that Airdrie went and thumped Queen's Park at the same time to what Airdrie thought was cutting the gap to Dunfermline. Suddenly Dunfermline have added another 3 points to themselves and pushed up the table. It's just that I think Neil Lennon called it a shot in the arm, and it looks exactly like that in terms of the start to his tenure at Dunfermline and where things could go. So it's a huge win, I think.
Rory, when you consider Dunfermline have Hamilton at home next, they're a point above them. They've then got Queen's Park away, and they sit just 3 points above Dunfermline right now. It feels very much in Dunfermline's hands all of a sudden.
It does, and I do believe in terms of the actual squads that these clubs have got, Dunfermline have the best one. In terms of the clubs you've just mentioned, I've got one of my good friends and neighbours is an Accies fan, and he's seriously concerned about their form. Thinks that Airdrie could catch them. So it'd be interesting to see how it plays out. But I do believe with the appointment of Neil Lennon, I've always believed that the squad Dunfermline have got is strong enough to stay in that league comfortably. Now it's not going to be comfortable, but I do believe that with the appointment of Neil Lennon, they will manage to get automatic safety.
George, do you agree with Rory's point earlier there about Livingston dropping points? The title's over, isn't it? Falkirk have won it.
Almost. Almost. I know Rory might have a little bit of bias, but I think in terms of his Falkirk history, it's almost. I think, and it would be great to see them back in the top flight because they're a big club that've been out of it for far too long, and the football they've been playing, I've been keeping an eye on them because obviously Dundee FC is my kind of focus, but they've got Luke Graham there, who's a real up-and-coming defender. I've been keeping an eye on that. So it's great to see the football they've been playing, and I think it deservedly at the top of the table and almost there.
Almost. Rory, I'll skirt over the accusations of bias there and just
Sorry.
just get to Queen's Park. I mean, that's an absolute conundrum for me. That game against Rangers, obviously, when they hit one of the biggest highs in their history, they've lost 5-0 to Airdrie last night, 5 at the weekend. Their season just seems to be completely evaporating.
Bizarre, Martin. Bizarre. I mean, these people talk about certain moments in season as being the catalyst for change or pushing forward to gain a bit of momentum. So to get that particular result in the Cup, it seems to have had the opposite effect. I mean, 10-0, aggregate the last 2 games, it's really, really disappointing from a Queen's Park point of view, and they'll be seriously concerned. I know that moving forward as well, that, I think when the owners come in, they wanted to go and push to try and get in the Premier League, which, they almost did at one point, but it's looking closer to League One than it is to the Premier League at this moment in time, Martin.
Yeah, George, just finally on the Championship, Airdrie seem to be just getting a bit of momentum at a very good time. Do you think they've got enough in them to claw this back?
It's amazing, really. I mean, if you think back, I think the first half of the season, I think they had... Well, they were basically losing every week for the first half of the season. It's incredible the turnaround they've had. But no, I think they've given themselves a chance. I mean, you go and win 5-0, that's got to give you belief to go into the games to come. I think they deserve a bit of credit. They've stuck with their manager through some really, really dreadful form. And they're coming through the other end of it, and they've got a chance of staying up, which it looked like they had absolutely no chance just a few weeks ago.
Okay, let's move on to Dundee. What a game it was when Dundee faced Rangers at the weekend. But for all the excitement, they finished up with nothing, 6 goals at home in their last 2 against the Old Firm, and finished up with just 1 point, conceding last-minute goals in both. George, obviously, you're across them more than anyone on this podcast. What's happening?
They're conceding too many goals. That's the thing. Their defensive numbers are pretty dreadful, really. Going forward, particularly in the last 2 games, they've been absolutely brilliant. I thought they were excellent with the ball against Rangers. They were brilliant in the derby, the game before. It's so difficult because as I say, they're attacking so well, but they're conceding so many goals. I do think that the Rangers game, it was a tough one. They're not going to play a team the quality of Rangers again this season. They don't have Celtic again either. I do think things will turn, and we see signs of things turning in terms of the way they're going about their business and going forward. They've got loads of goals in them.
Why are they conceding so many goals, George? What's the reason for that?
Here's the question. It's something that Tony Dock, since he's come in, it was an issue last season. They conceded too many goals, even though they had a really good season and finished in the top 6. This season, they've conceded even more, even though they've scored more. They've almost scored more goals this season than they did last season. Big issue has been Joe Shaughnessy has missed most of the season. He's such a big player. He's their captain. He's the leader at the back. He's made a difference since he came back in. They're still conceding goals though. His replacement, while he was injured, was effectively Clark Robertson in terms of bringing in an experienced man at the back. He's been injured for a lot of the season. He's had 2 or 3 injuries. I think it's come down to experience a lot in terms of it's a very young team. A lot of them are learning their trade in terms of how to defend at this level. I think that's been a big issue. They have also, we shouldn't forget, they lost Luke McCowan, who was their best player last season. His replacement was effectively Scott Fraser, an experienced central midfielder. The one clean sheet they've had all season in the league was at Motherwell when Scott Fraser made his only start. So I think he's not a defensive player, but he can control the middle of the park. And the middle of the park has been an issue all season as well. So there's a couple of things they need to sort out. But what gives me hope is going forward, they can outscore the opposition. I think that should see them safe in the end, but we'll have to see. It might be tough.
George, a really detailed sort of analysis of Dundee there. Rory, what do you see as the key issues for Dundee to get away from this right now?
Well, George also kind of touches on the strength and depth there, and you look, I know we're concentrating on Dundee, one particular player making such a big difference to, conceding the goals, and Joe Shaughnessy. You look at Kilmarnock, who are down that end of the table as well. Stuart Finlay's probably been the reason why they've lost as many goals as they have. So I think Tony Docherty's probably assessing this season going, I can't rely on one defender to be fit, especially a kind of more experienced pro. I've played with Joe, good defender. He was younger, obviously, when I played with him, but you can't rely on that. And I mean, they still conceded 4 goals, and they were preventable, as Tony Docherty said. To get out of this, I think he needs to get them on the training pitch, and which I'm sure he does and works hard on it. And it's not all individual errors. That's one thing I would say. The goals they concede, I look at the goals they conceded against Rangers. I think the Tom Lawrence one especially is preventable. He's in far too much space. I think they need to work on getting the midfield and the defence together, communicating slightly better, not breaking ranks in terms of going out to press the ball and leaving too much space in behind them. Without getting kind of too detailed on that side of things, I just think that they have enough attacking flair and enough goals in them, but they are just unbelievably leaky in defence. So he just needs to kind of get them on the training pitch, work on the structure, and look to be more solid, because they really haven't been.
George, what do you think the mood is amongst the fans right now? Are they sort of looking at the positive things, the attacking side of things, or do you think they're starting to think this is getting concerning?
I would look at the title of the Dundee fan podcast was called Scunnered this week, which maybe tells you how they've been feeling after the Rangers game. I think there's a bit of both in there, because going forward, I mean, the fans thoroughly enjoyed the derby. I think everyone could see that. Sam and Murray being one of them. And they enjoyed most of the Rangers game and hated the end of it. It's they've kind of got used to the way Dundee defend, I think. So it's a bit of both. I think they're worried and in the position they're in, but they know they've got the ability to get out of it, and I think that's what does give them hope. But they're 11th in the table, and they're 11th there for a reason at this stage of the season. It means they haven't been good enough so far.
Do you think they're better than Kilmarnock?
At this moment in time, yeah. I think they are. In terms of, I keep going back to they can score goals. That's such a big thing at this level, and particularly when you're in a relegation battle. I do think that when they come up against the bottom 6 after the split, they'll be coming up against the kind of lower defences in the table, and I think they can pick up results there. Obviously, as I say, they won't be facing Rangers again, and the quality striker and midfielders they have. I think Rory pointed to the goals they could see against Rangers, which is a good point in terms of the long range. That gap between midfield and defence has been an issue this season. I don't see them coming up against James Tavernier and guys like that can finish from that area, so that might help as well.
Okay, what about the other 2 Tayside teams? Dundee United pretty much sealed top 6. It's been an excellent season for them, Rory. Do you think they should really now be thinking about Europe?
Why not? I mean, they will get top 6 now. Jim Goodwin's had a fantastic season, and I don't know Jim Goodwin, but I'm delighted for him as an outsider looking in, because it felt like Jim Goodwin was the type of manager who would win 10 games and lose 1, and all the focus would be on that 1, which was slightly unfair. He had a bit of a tag and reputation given his high-profile defeats at previous clubs. Didn't go particularly well at Aberdeen. But if you're looking for a blueprint of once you've made it to the Premiership, on recruitment, on structure, on solidity, and also entertaining. They're an entertaining team to watch. Not the most entertaining team in the league, but we often criticise clubs for recruitment and we deep dive what they need, etc. But Jim Goodwin has managed, him and his backroom staff and board, whoever it may be, have managed to make really good signings. And Sam Dalby, Lucas Stevenson, Ferry at the back, really good delivery, as well as still having the likes of Ross Graham in the team when he's been fit and available. Savelge, Sibbald in midfield, Docherty. They've got a really good squad, and I've always described them this season as a kind of jack of all trades, master of none. I look at Dundee United and I don't go, they're brilliant at that, but I also really struggle to look at them and go, well, you're really poor at that. And that's made for a really successful recipe. And I think Jim Goodwin and Dundee United as a football club, given where they were at, deserve enormous credit. And to answer your question, Martin, the Shackles should be off in the top six. Go and enjoy it, and there's absolutely no reason why they can't nick a European place.
George, I'm sure Dundee fans are maybe looking on a little bit enviously at the moment. And what the point Rory made there about recruitment, is there a concern for Dundee United at all when you think to next season that a lot of these guys are on loan, or should fans just put faith in the fact that they've done that and they can do it again?
There is a part of that. I saw a bit of that at Dundee. They had a lot of loan players last season and lost most of them for this season. I think it will be an issue. I don't expect Sam Dalby will stick around. He's been a brilliant find for United. It's probably gone too well in terms of them actually being able to keep a striker of his quality. But I mean, I wouldn't be thinking too far ahead if I was a Dundee United fan. I'd be enjoying the moment and thinking what could happen this season. And I think they do. They've put themselves in a brilliant position. Jim Goodwin's done a great job in terms of the way he's built that team. Built it and rebuilt it really in the summer after winning the championship. They signed a lot of players. It was in double figures. So if they've done it once, they can do it again in terms of their summer recruitment. But at the moment, I'd just be enjoying and dreaming what could happen this season. I think European football is within their grasp.
Well, to St Johnstone, of course, who prop up the Premiership as things stand, rooted at the bottom of the table. Rory, what do you make of Simo Valakari's approach in a relegation fight? He tries to play a good style of football, but is it the right thing to do?
It's interesting because I was listening to Sportsound, I think it was a month or so ago, and there was a particular supporter on saying that he would rather be relegated trying to do the right things than stay in the Premier League but going along every week and not looking forward to the game. So, that's a debate you could have all day. Is he doing the right thing? He needs to stay in the league. Of course he does, because if he can stay in the league, he then has a summer to rebuild, to get his attractive thoughts on how to play football across, and moving forward from next season, they start on a level playing field with everyone. I think at this stage, the results they have got, you could look at and say, well, that's the reason they've picked these results up, but they've not picked up enough points so far for that to be vindicated. So far, I don't think it is vindicated, Martin. I think for it to be vindicated, they would need to finish either staying up by the playoffs or staying in the Premier League and then going on next season and really building on that style of play. But as it stands at the moment, I would have to say, given the rock bottom of the league, that no, he's not doing the right thing.
George, can you see a way out for St Johnstone? Celtic next, Dundee United away. It's not getting any easier.
It's not, and there is obviously that gap is bigger than just one result as well at this stage. What should give them hope is the way the split works. You get the chance to take on the teams that are around you, and you can really damage them while giving yourself a boost. It's obviously going to be really, really tough for them this weekend to get anything. It's they're up against it, I would say. But as I say, they'll be playing the teams just directly above them, and that does give them the opportunity, as the split always does, to get themselves out of trouble. And it's up to them. It's up to them to go and get those results they need.
Rory, do you feel they have the players that have it within them to fight their way out of this?
Yeah, I actually think they've got a better squad this season than they did last season. I really do. I just think they didn't have a particularly good start to the season. Balakari's come in, tried to get his ideas across, didn't have a particularly great start, and then they had a bit of a purple patch. So I do think with Graham Carey, Kimpioka, Mackenzie Kirk, they do have the firepower on any given day to score a couple of goals in a game. And historically, you couldn't have said that about St Johnstone. It was more about their defensive structure. So they do have the players there, Martin, to make it exciting and to challenge and not go down with a whimper. It's just whether these guys can produce the goods. I do think he needs to get Graham Carey. I know he plays a lot of minutes, but I think he could be pivotal. He needs to get him in the team as often as he can.
Well, that's all we've got time for. Thank you very much for listening to our sweep over the Championship and our trip over Tayside. Many thanks to George Cran and Rory Loy, and thank you for listening. Remember, we're here with new episodes of the Scottish Football Podcast bright and early every day, so make sure you don't miss out. Subscribe on BBC Sounds and have push notifications turned on your phone. Thanks very much for listening.
On BBC Sounds. From life aboard a Russian submarine to chairman of Hearts Football Club.
At this stage, he was the hero.
But as his controversial decisions escalated...
They said, we're going to sack George. And I'm going, you can't do this.
How did Vladimir Romanov go from Hearts saviour to a wanted man?
He caused a whole load of chaos and havoc.
Romanov, Tsar of Hearts. Listen now on BBC Sounds.